This regular meeting of the school board will now come to order. First on the agenda is roll call. Ms. Coakley, would you please call out the roll?
Mr. Breaux?
Here.
Mr. Green? Ms. Hanson? Ms. Rutherford? Ms. Fauntleroy? Mr. Harrell? Ms. Martin? Ms. Moore? Dr. Peterson? Ms. Baker? Ms. McCullum? Ms. Lamey? Ms. Hurstis? Mr. Kuzan? Ms. Rufino Gallagher?
Ms. Rutherford will now lead us in invocation and pledge.
Lord, we ask you to watch over all of us here at this meeting. Ask us to make the best decisions for everyone and to keep us safe now and till we get home. In God's name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do any of the board members have someone they'd like to recognize tonight? Mr. Harrell?
Thank you, President Breaux. I would like to congratulate, we've got a new member of the Lakeshore family. Where's that little baby at? Right there on the end. Congratulations. And I'd like to welcome my friend, Miss Becky, to the meeting. And I see Miss Krinerich in the back. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Rufino Gallagher?
Wrong thing. I would just like to, I don't know if Frank's going to say it either, but I'm going to go ahead and congratulate someone that made it, that got drafted in the majors. I'm sure Frank's going to talk about that, so I won't steal that thunder. But what I would like to say, because it's a personal thing for me, is I just want to congratulate the 2008 girls, Slidell Youth Soccer Club players. They were back-to-back state champions 2 years in a row. They were the third team in Louisiana to win the regional championship for the President's Cup. They were the second team in Louisiana to make it to the national semifinals. And they were the first team in Louisiana to ever play for the national championship. This is the reason I was not here last week, because my daughter is on that team. And I'm proud to say that they came in second in the nation. It was a heartbreaking loss, but they were the #2 team in the entire nation. We have kids from Mandeville High School on that team, North Shore High School on that team, Boyette Junior High on that team, and Creekside Junior High on that team, along with some kids from 2 private schools in the community. So I would just like to say congratulations to them. As devastated as they were that they lost, Slidell is super proud of them, and we could not have asked for a better season for those girls. So congratulations, girls.
Seeing no one else?
Wait, Mr. Breaux, I would like to.
Oh, go ahead.
I know there's people out there that I probably don't see, but I just want to thank everybody who did come out to participate in the meeting, all of our employees, teachers, and staff.
Thank you. Mr. Javia, Superintendent's update.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Breaux. I'm going to keep it pretty short tonight. I do want to start off tonight with a video. We had the honor of recognizing Ms. Gail Sloan as one of the highest honors that can be displayed upon someone as an educator and someone who gave so much to the community, is to have a school named after you. And so let's take a look at that video and that celebration.
This is extremely special because she is so deserving of this honor. Gail Sloan was not just a name.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our dedication of Gail Sloan Middle School.
And she was such a strong leader and such a big believer in education and kids and what was best for them.
I see a lot of familiar faces out there, old friends and relatives. This school was Gail's baby.
We've been planning this event for months now, but to see it in action and to be in this gym with all of these people here to support this dedication and this renaming is truly humbling.
Gail Sloan truly never left Mandeville Middle School, and now so deserving, it will carry her name Gale Sloan Middle School.
The people who now come to the school will know exactly who she was and what she did for this parish and this school.
What really stood out to me is how she cared for the students a lot. She didn't just do her job, like she used her heart with it.
To have everyone here and to know that we have their support was just so great.
When you talk about naming a school after an individual, that is probably the highest honor that someone can bestow upon you as an educator and someone that impacted the community.
Her guidance and her dedication to making this school system from good to great was what made this parish school system what it is.
It really was it was a very special ceremony. I want to thank Mr. Green, who gave an awesome talk and told his story, and everyone that made it so special that was a part of that. But really the kids, the Lighthouse team that was there, they had their uniform shirts on and they were showing people around. So the leader in me lives on at Gale Sloan Middle and will continue on with the great things she did. So we just want to thank everyone that turned out and helped make that so special. Just a couple notes. First off, I'm talking with Ms. Prevost. She got confirmation from the state this week that the state stipends will be available at the end of August. So we really feel like that, just as we did last year, we'll be one of the first school systems to be able to put that in the hands of the employees. So we plan on, if everything is done the way the state says, that those things will move forward and be able to put those stipends in your hands by September the 15th. So we appreciate Ms. Prevost and all the help there. So we did meet with the Federation today and sat down and had some very good conversation. And I will update the board moving forward as to what that looks like moving forward. But I just want to let everybody know that we did have a sit down and had a chance to at least sit down and just share a few things and talk about a few things today. So I appreciate all the help there and getting that and making that possible. Two bits of sad news tonight. Tonight we have a couple people that I'd like to recognize that tonight is their last board meeting. And the first one is Miss Lori Niehaus. Lori has given 25 years to the school system. She is a champion for support, our support employees. For those of you who don't know, I mean, she deals and she has so much interaction with our support employees, and she has been a huge advocate with the administration and with this board for years, coming in, trying to get more rights and more things accomplished for them. So I want to tell Lori, thank you very much for your years of service, and we're going to miss you. If you'd like to say a few words.
Since you put me on the spot, yes, I will. Thank you for your kind words. My heart is filled with a myriad of emotions as I say goodbye to a very fulfilling career. I am immensely grateful. I have been afforded invaluable experiences and opportunities to learn and grow professionally and personally. To work alongside such talented and dedicated individuals in our schools, in our sites, and here at Central Office has been a privilege, and I will always cherish those relationships. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you so much, Lori. We are going to miss you very, very much. Behind the scenes, Channel 13, St. Tanya Parish Public Schools TV does so much behind the scenes, and we're able to stream these videos, these meetings, so that you can watch it wherever you are. So tonight is the last meeting, if through that glass right behind you, last meeting for Kevin Mumphrey, extremely talented and just a great person. So Kevin, thank you. Appreciate you. But Mr. Bro, that's all the updates I have tonight, so thank you very much for that.
All right, but you're not over yet.
No, sir.
Announcement of administrative appointments.
So tonight it's my honor to name our last four site-based appointees tonight, and we are truly blessed to have so much talent in the room. It is just amazing sitting down with these applicants to see what they've learned in the system, in their different roles that they've been in, and what they've learned in their experiences through education. So it is my pleasure to announce these tonight. We're going to start off with our new principal at Mandeville Elementary, Miss Stephanie Franzo.
Good evening, Superintendent Javia, Assistant Superintendents, and fellow board members. It is with immense pride that I address you tonight as the newly appointed principal of Mandeville Elementary School. A year and a half ago, when I was placed at MES as a parish-wide AP, I had never dreamed that I'd be the principal so soon. But what I did know was that I wanted to be a part of this remarkable school culture. The incredible school community stole my heart instantly, and this school quickly became home, and a place I was proud to be a part of. Working alongside Ms. Smith was such an invaluable experience. Her dedication to our school, faculty, and student success, along with her exceptional leadership and witty personality, has empowered not only me, but many others on our campus, especially our students. Thank you for believing in me and encouraging me when this opportunity was in front of me. You looked me in the eyes and said, "This is your school, you are ready." I promise to continue your amazing legacy and live up to this year's school theme, make your mark on the school we both so love. To the faculty and staff at Mandeville Elementary, I am endlessly thankful for your support and optimism during this year of change. Your texts, calls, and emails truly mean the world to me, alongside with your presence here tonight. Your compassion to our students inspire me daily, and each of you truly make MES the best place to work, learn, and grow. To the Mandeville community, I am committed to continuing the level of excellence that the principals before me have laid. I am confident that with our new assistant principal, Ms. Christy Tangas, by my side, we will continue to strive to achieve our school mission, that all students are safe, happy, and learning at high levels. Of course, none of this would be possible without my incredible support system at home, my husband, Bobby, and 3 daughters, Reagan, Hallie, and Parker. You have been so supportive through this process. And girls, I hope I am an example for you to find your passion in whatever you do and never give up. And thank you to the rest of my family for the miles that they put in to allow me to pour so much into my career. In closing, I am truly humbled and excited that this is my school, and I am ready to make my mark on Mandeville Elementary. Thank you.
Will the friends and family of Stephanie please stand and be recognized, please? Congratulations, Stephanie. Next, we'd like to recognize the new assistant principal at Mandeville Elementary, Ms. Christy Tangas.
Told myself I wasn't
No
going to cry.
pressure, no
I know.
pressure.
I have to follow that too. Okay, I'm sorry. Good evening, Superintendent Javia, Assistant Superintendents, and board members. I am deeply honored and excited to accept the position as Assistant Principal of Mandeville Elementary. This opportunity truly means so much to me, and I'm excited to embark on this journey with all of you. For the past 13 of my 15 years in St. Tammany Parish, I have been fortunate to work alongside the most dedicated teachers and staff members at Mandeville Elementary. From the moment I stepped foot on our campus, I knew I was home, and this was where I was meant to be. With the guidance and unwavering support of Ms. Chantel Smith, an incredible mentor and friend, I was given the opportunity to grow as an educator and leader. I will be forever grateful to Ms. Smith for her vision, passion, and commitment to making Mandeville Elementary the very best. I promise to carry on the legacy she built of trust and inspiration. Ms. Franzo, thank you for placing your trust in me. Your confidence in my abilities inspires me to work even harder to support our students, teachers, and community. I'm looking forward to making our own mark on our incredible school. To our extraordinary faculty and staff, I promise to continue supporting, believing, trusting, and growing with each of you. To the families and students of Mandeville Elementary, you are the heart of our school. I look forward to partnering with you to create a supportive, engaging, and loving environment where all students feel challenged, valued, empowered, and inspired. Finally, words cannot express how thankful I am to have such a loving and supportive family. To my husband, Paul, and my son, Ryan, I love you both so much. Thank you for always believing in me and supporting me in achieving my dreams. I hope to make you proud. To my parents for encouraging me in all aspects of my life, whether it was academics, athletics, or my career, your faith in me always kept me going. To my dad, a former St. Tammany teacher, assistant principal, and principal, I did it. Thank you. Thank you again for this incredible opportunity. I'm excited to begin this new chapter with Ms. Franzo and work alongside all of you to make Mandeville Elementary an even more remarkable place for learning and growing. This is truly a dream come true. Thank you.
Will Christy's family and friends please stand and be recognized, please? Congratulations, Christy. Our next appointment is the new assistant principal at Lakeshore High School, Ms. Sydney Morse.
Good evening, Superintendent Jabia, Assistant Superintendents, and distinguished members of the board, esteemed family, friends, and guests gathered here this evening. I am deeply grateful as I formally accept the position of Assistant Principal at Lakeshore High School. I wish to begin by acknowledging the presence of my family and friends here tonight. Your unwavering support over the past year has meant the world to me. A heartfelt thank you to my parents for their words of encouragement and for instilling in me the mental fortitude needed to be resilient and uphold the work ethic that constantly strives for excellence. In particular, I wish to express my deepest gratitude to my husband and our two girls who stood by my side the past year. It's been a crazy journey. For those of you who don't know, in the last 2 months, I graduated grad school, passed the SLLA, ran away and got married, and then last week I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. So it has been a wild ride. And now, of course, I stand in front of you and I accept the position as the new assistant principal of Lakeshore High. I would also like to extend a special thank you to Principal Gerald. You are my mentor and my dearest friend. Your inspiration, your belief in me, and the opportunity that you have provided me to serve you and our Lakeshore High community are beyond measure. I am profoundly grateful for this chance to stand alongside of you and support your vision. To Ms. Holt, who has left us, I pledge to uphold and further enhance your legacy that you've established at Lakeshore High School. I am committed to fostering a school culture that prioritizes continual growth and advancement, and always acting in the best interest of our students. Lastly, to Lakeshore High School and my dear faculty, you hold such a unique place in my heart. Since 2016, this campus, its faculty, and the community have been my home. I arrived here a 23-year-old college graduate with minimal experience and was embraced with open arms. Lakeshore, you have played a pivotal role in shaping me into a successful educator and equipping me to support our fellow Titans. In closing, I reaffirm my dedication to the Lakeshore High School community. Together, let's uphold that spirit of Tighten Up with professionalism, excellence, and unwavering commitment to our students and their success. Thank you.
Will Sydney's family and friends please stand and be recognized, please? Congratulations, Sydney. And next, Assistant Principal at Slidell High School, Ms. Nancy Baird.
I'm the new gal on the block. I'm really a woman of a few words, and I know if you sat in my interviews, you probably disagree with that, but here we go. Superintendent Jabia, board members, I'd like to thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I'm very excited to work with Coach Favre, and all of the members of the team of Slidell High School. It's a dream come true. I finally feel like I'm home, and I want to thank you all for your confidence in me. I have one more thing to say. It's a great day to be a Tiger. Thank you.
Will Nancy's family and friends please stand and be recognized, please? Nancy, once a Tiger, always a Tiger, baby. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. So, but congratulations to all four of the appointments tonight. I look forward to amazing things. And Mr. Bro, that concludes the appointments tonight.
And we will allow all the family and members of the appointees tonight to get out if you'd prefer. And we will take a 5-minute recess. Everybody, please take their seats. While you're doing that, I have a couple of board members who wanted to do some more special recognition or make comments. Michelle?
I hate to do this after Slidell High's people left, but I said I hate to do this after Slidell High's people left, but I thought Mr. Jabi was going to do it, but it slipped away with all the appointments. But we would like to congratulate Corey Kuzan from Slidell High School, who was drafted, I believe, in the 14th round of the MLB to the Kansas City Royals. So congratulations, Corey.
Ms. Lamy?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steve. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I know it really doesn't feel well turning 40.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Kuzan's next week. He's about to come. Yeah, they're there.
All right, are we ready? We'll now move on to consent agenda. Before I start reading them, is there anyone on board here who would like to remove any of the items from the agenda? All right, I'll start. That's appropriate. But let me ask for comments from the public, and then I'll ask for comments from the board. And first, I'll read it all. Consent item agenda. Approval of minutes of special meeting, the retreat held June 11th, 2024. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting held June 13th, 2024. Approval of minutes of the special meeting held June 13th, 2024. Recommends acceptance of the ESSER-funded Group 4 various schools playground and outdoor activity area equipment installation and associated improvements as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Javia. Recommends acceptance of Group 3 various schools playground/outdoor activity area equipment installation and associated improvements as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Javia. Recommends acceptance of Group 4 various schools, playground and outdoor activity area equipment, installation and associated improvements as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Javia. Recommends acceptance of Mayfield Elementary School chiller replacement as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Javia. Recommends acceptance of Pearl River High School 100 and 200 wing roofing as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendations, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Javia. Recommends acceptance of revisions to School Board Policy DFG, donations and gifts. Recommends acceptance of revision to School Board Policy DC, annual operating budget. Recommends acceptance of revision to School Board Policy DID, audits. Recommends acceptance of revision of School Board Policy DJD, travel expense reimbursements. Recommends acceptance of revision to School Board Policy DIB, financial reports and statements. Recommends acceptance of a resolution for the approval of the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire for fiscal year 23-24 audit. Recommends acceptance of revision of pupil progression plan. And that's it. Do we have any comments from the public? Comments from the board?
I'll just keep it brief, and I apologize, I wasn't here last week. I had COVID, and it is going around, but I don't anymore. So senior exemptions are now going to be semester exam exemptions. So that's for freshmen, sophomore, and junior. Is that correct?
That actually was withdrawn, so that is not a proposal that is coming
Good.
through.
I must have missed that part. And then the part dealing with the students, seniors who want to take, 5 or 6 classes, was that adopted? I'm sorry.
So the only one that was withdrawn was the exemptions, but the criteria for a short day schedule for graduating seniors, yes, ma'am, that is one of the proposals.
Okay, so my question regarding that is those students who don't meet those criteria, like the ACT score of 18 or higher, silver on the high set, LEAP, all that, or if they have excessive tardies or absences, we're going to put additional courses on their schedule so they go a full day.
Correct.
And what will those courses consist of, perhaps?
It could be, depending on what are the needs of the student, it may be some sort of ACT prep-like courses, to help them if that is something that makes the most sense for them. It could be other electives and to explore some different career interest opportunities. It really would be whatever the counselor, the parents, and the student decide is the best interest.
From an educational standpoint, I think that makes a lot of sense. My concern, however, is you've got a 19-year-old senior who doesn't already want to be there because they're tardies and absences, and then they become a discipline issue. So I'm sure we'll have to address that if the time comes. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you
That's
so
it.
much.
I'm sorry to take up any time.
Any other comments from the board? Mr. Harrell?
Thank you, President Bro. I got a question regarding, like, what are the standards for items to go on the consent agenda versus the regular agenda?
From my view, the consent agenda would be all those items that were voted upon, because the votes would be recorded in the previous meeting, and that everything that was agreed upon could be on the consent agenda. Of course, anybody can take off anything during the consent agenda. But basically, the consent agenda is saying that I may not agree with everything on the consent agenda, but I agree that it was passed. So you're just confirming what had happened at the previous meeting.
So it's anything that passed the previous meeting can go on the consent agenda?
I would think so, but sometimes we can move it off if there's some controversy or if somebody wants, of course, anybody can move it off at the time of the meeting for any reason.
Okay. I remember when we first discussed this, I think the comments were routine items, unanimous items. I think when you explained it, that was kind of the original.
At first, I thought it was going to be unanimous, but we've had several that were non-unanimous that have come through on the consent agenda. And so it's really a confirmation of what was voted on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Does Mr. Fino Gallagher?
I again apologize for not being here last week, but I just have a question on its proposal 4 on the section of junior high. And it says credits earned prior to 9th grade will not be considered into calculations for high school class rank. So they'll still get credit for Algebra 1 in 8th grade, but that grade won't be counted towards their high school GPA. Is that correct?
No,
their class rank.
Their ranking class, correct. It has not been.
Okay.
It's just making it clear in the document. That was the feedback, is that anywhere that Carnegie credits are earned in high school is mentioned in the document. It's also mentioned that those credits would not be calculated in ranking class.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's come to my attention that we don't have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. So, Mr. Kuzan and Ms. Rufino Gallagher, I'll ask the public again, since we did things out of order. If there are any comments, please speak up. Seeing none, no more comments from the board, and no one wants to remove anything, let's please vote. And that passes unanimously. Mr. Alfonso, I think you're next. Appropriate retirement resolutions?
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Bro, Board, Superintendent Jabbia. Appropriate retirement resolution of the following certificated personnel subsequent to the June 13, 2024 meeting. Amy M. DiCarlo, Central Office, 38 years, 33 years in St. Tammany Parish. Gerald P. Leonard, Central Office, 34 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. John B. McCurley, Central Office, 27.61 years, 25 years in St. Tammany Parish. Deborah L. Leckie, Harrison Curriculum Center, 36.91 years, 34.71 years in St. Tammany Parish. Geraldine G. Provenzano, Harrison Curriculum Center, 40.33 years, 26 years in St. Tammany Parish.
Those are all heavy hitters.
Yes, sir.
That's like 200 years, and
Well,
you
no,
only had like 5.
I'm waiting for you to ask me a question.
All right, how many years was that?
It's 176.85, but I'm sad to say it's 8.92 years more than last year
Okay, thank you.
at this time.
I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Hanson and Ms. Moore? Wait your turn. Any comments from the public? All right, Ms. Moore?
I just wanted to say that we're losing out on a wonderful person, Geraldine Brabazano. She worked at Mandeville Elementary for a long time, and she's been a very dedicated employee to our special ed students and kids with special needs. So, thank you, Geraldine.
Any other comments from the board?
I have one.
All right. Ms.
Since
Lynn?
that was said, I need to make sure I shout out Mr. Leonard and Mr. Carlo and Ms. McCurley, all who will be, and so also Deborah Leckie, I don't know you, but I know you'll be super missed too. And also for Ms. McCurley, we're going to miss seeing you sitting up here too. So enjoy your retirement.
Any other comments? Seeing none, please vote. And that passes unanimously. Moving on, next.
Yes, sir. Appropriate retirement resolution of the following employee support services personnel subsequent to the June 13, 2024 meeting. Teresa R. Abney, Brooks Curriculum Center, 26.71 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Deborah B. Heil, Central Office, 29.76 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. James B. Impastato, Information Technology, 22.59 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Kathy L. Moselle, Magnolia Trace Elementary, 26.97 years, 9.97 years in St. Tammany Parish. Joseph P. Cardella IV, Marigny Elementary, 12.17 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Feltice M. Jones, Slidell Junior High, 10.07 years, 5.16 years in St. Tammany Parish. Lucian J. Boudreaux Jr., Transportation Center, 20.87 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. John C. Harrison, Treen Technology Center, 20.58 years, all in St. Tammany Parish.
Do I have a motion? Ms. Moore? And Mr. Rufino Gallagher? Okay, any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Seeing none, please vote. That passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is to adopt the resolution levying millage rates for tax year 2024 for a total of 54.34 mills. Mr. Prevost, would you like to say anything on that?
Good thing I brought my notes. Yeah, the resolution is just basically to set our millages in this reassessment year for this coming school year. And so we've rolled back the general fund millage, 3.56 mills from 48.1 to 44.65. That's a savings to taxpayers of $11 million annually. And we're rolling about the debt service millage, 0.10 mills from 13.9 to 13.8, and that's about a $310,000 savings. So, and cumulatively, we've rolled back 28.76 mills since 1992. So,
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion? Ms. Rutherford and Ms. Fauntleroy. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Seeing none, please. Oh, Ms. Fauntleroy.
I don't have that up, sorry. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Bro. I just wanted to just say those numbers again because I was trying to write them down, and I know there's been a lot of controversy on Facebook about, so we're rolling back our millage.
Correct.
And if I understand correctly, everyone who draws revenue from millages has the opportunity right now to roll back.
Correct. What the assessor provides us with rates and we're doing the rollback rates, but if you decide you want to roll forward, you have to do a public hearing and advertise, which I believe some of the fire districts are doing.
Right, that's where-
So,
oh,
yeah, we're
I'm
not
asking.
doing that. We're accepting the rates that the assessor provided, the rollback rates, plus we're doing an extra 0.10% that we didn't have to do in our debt service millage.
So can you give me that, we're saving the taxpayer 3.56 million on which fund? That was general,
It's 11 million for general fund.
11 million. It was
For
three-
just those rollbacks,
Okay.
and $310,000 for the debt service one. So
Okay.
that's 11.3 million.
and can you give me that number you gave us last week of 89 million that we saved taxpayers?
Right.
That was since when?
That's our cumulative rollback. So in 1992, we had 87.1 mills. And so today we're at 58.34 mills. So that's a rollback of 28.76 mills. So that's saving taxpayers annually at the current mill value, $89 million.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sampson?
Just a clarification, so although, because come December, we're all going to open up our property tax bills, and we're not going to be happy. But, you know, just to be clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, if our tax bills are higher than they were last time, which they probably will be, it's not due to us increasing the millage. We're in fact rolling them back. It's due to assessment values, inflationary assessment values on property. Is that correct in St.
Correct.
Tammany?
Yeah, we don't control what the assessor values property at, but we can control our mills. So we roll back consistently, but as property values have risen, your bill is going to go higher, of course.
But at least we did what we could to try to
Absolutely.
ease the hurt a little
Yeah,
bit, correct?
We roll
Okay.
back a lot of mills. so,
Okay,
over
thank
time.
you.
So my comment, so by law, what they do is they try to not increase the revenue you're getting when they reappraise.
Correct.
So they recommend that if you don't want to increase or if you don't want to increase the burden on the taxpayers, you basically roll back.
Correct.
And any roll forward, or if you keep it, we would get $11 million more, but we would tax
Possibly, yes.
the citizenry of
Right,
St.
there is a
Tammany.
limit you can roll forward to, but it definitely would cost the taxpayers, and you have to do a hearing, advertise, and you have to go through to roll forward. So I don't think we've ever done the roll
Roll it
forward. We've
forward.
always accepted the assessors' rollback millages, and those millages are supposed to even out over all the government bodies so that you get the same revenue as last year. But of course, you're going to get more revenue because property values went up. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So do I have a motion? Because I think we did. Okay. Mr. Green?
So if we did a roll forward, we'd actually, over time, have more money to pay teachers, to do more things in the parish, correct?
Correct, yeah, you would have more. you
And
would have
I'd
more
just like
revenue.
to point out that, you know, I, for one, don't mind paying property taxes because I feel like those dollars are locally controlled. The problem we have in the state, of course, is that we have a state income tax and you kind of have to balance those. And so we kind of find ourselves in a catch-22 sometimes that, yeah, we would like to provide more money to the budget, but at the same time, we get taxed enough in this state as it is. So just from a position that's been argued at the state level, and for everybody in this room that wants teacher pay raises, the real argument potentially is we need to reevaluate our tax system in the state, potentially eliminate state tax, find other ways to create revenue in the state, and then quit rolling back millages and tax on property that then goes to be locally controlled, that we can afford to provide additional pay raises to teachers and employees and the like. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're
Okay.
the sixth highest property tax. I haven't seen the new roll where we rank, but we've been the sixth in the state, so we're not the highest. That's a misnomer, people say that, but, and then we have 44% of the tax roll as a school board.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
We have any more comments?
Since you're correcting misnomers, I just want to make one known that I got this week. Just so everybody watching knows, I do not make as much as the superintendent. I just wanted y'all to know that. That's false.
Mr. Kuzan.
I'm sorry, I can't. Is this mic? I think, yeah, I think most of them are, except for maybe the fire districts. I haven't seen them all, but they should be doing it this month.
I just saw a list of numerous fire districts that were scheduling those meetings. That's all I saw. That's
Yeah,
what I
the
saw.
fire districts really depend on property taxes, because they don't get sales tax, so that's their major revenue, so it's very difficult when they roll back. But they are projecting, just for us, the roll will go up, we will get 8 to 10 million more dollars just from property value increases. So even though we're rolling back, we are gonna get more money.
Okay, I know that.
With no further comments, please vote. And that passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, recommends acceptance of a resolution to direct the superintendent and staff to resume negotiations on a 2-year collective bargaining agreement with the Federation to resolve any issues brought up by the school board. Do I have a motion? Ms. Moore, Ms. Fauntleroy. I should look on the other side, sorry. Okay, comments from the public.
Stephanie Underwood, Executive Vice President of the St. Tammany Federation of Teachers and School Employees. I want to start out by saying I encourage you to finalize this resolution and vote yes to send us back to the negotiation table to fix issues that some members of the board have with the collective bargaining agreement. Last week was an incredible demonstration of what the employees and constituents want for our school system. Not only do we appreciate everyone who showed up in support of this very important cause, we appreciate everyone who had the courage to speak up for what they believe in. Seeing tonight, I'm assuming that we're probably going to have some of the same experience. So I do want to encourage everyone to show respect to each speaker tonight, no matter if you agree or disagree with the sentiment. In addition, I want to say that we are all part of a school system that teaches standards created by the state and curriculum that is created by textbook companies and our curriculum specialist. The collective bargaining agreement is a document that establishes an exclusive and formal partnership between the Federation, administration, and the board, and contains the work rights and protections of employees. It isn't something that includes nor supports any political agenda. Therefore, I urge everyone to stick to the true issues and keep politics out of the conversation tonight. Again, please vote yes and allow administration and the Federation to iron out the wrinkles and continue to provide support for all employees.
For all the speakers, please state your name when you start.
I'm Johnny Ann Abear, and I'm a teacher at Lancaster Elementary School. Superintendent Jabbia, assistant superintendents, board members and colleagues, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. I was one of the teachers who met with Ms. Baker at Lancaster earlier this week, and I feel we all walked away from that meeting. Even if we didn't agree, we did walk away with a better understanding of each other's points of view. And I would like to share with you just a little bit of what I shared with Ms. Baker. 5 years ago, my mother died. I was at her bedside a week before she died, and I got a call from my administrator with a parent wanting me to leave Texas and come back for a conference. I politely refused, reminding her that I was on extended sick leave. It was then requested that I call in to that conference, and again, I refused. That mother then reported me to central office, calling me, and I quote, a raging racist. I firmly believe that had it not been for the union and the CBA, I would have been required to leave my mother's side to go to that conference. We are extremely lucky here in St. Tammany Parish to have, for the majority, very supportive parents. However, it takes one accusation by one parent to derail a teacher's life. One point that was made to me was that only union members can vote on the CBA. And that is true. However, the CBA benefits all staff members. In the past 3 years, I've had 2 colleagues that had just cause meetings. Neither of them were union members, but both of them had union representation at their meetings. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Bush. I've taught in the Pearl River Learning Community for 25 years. The reason I rarely come to these meetings is because I trust Brant, Stephanie, and their pack to protect our coworkers, students, and myself. While I don't agree with many of the decisions that Superintendent Jabby and his team make, their attempts at opening communication lines and my personal interactions with them had led me to believe that they truly believe they want what is best for our district as well. I wish I could stand here and say that I feel about this board like I do our federation, or that I believe in its integrity and conviction as I do Mr. Jabby and his team, but I can't. I'm not saying I feel that way about all of you. Several of you had demonstrated sincerity, compassion, and open-minded willingness to truly hear our requests. But sadly, several sitting here have spewed lies and demonstrated dishonesty and untrustworthy behavior. Aesop tells a fable of a pack of wolves that lurked near a sheep's pasture. Dogs kept them all at a respectful distance so the sheep could graze safely. But the wolves thought of a plan to trick the sheep and sent a message. "Why is there always hostility between us?" said the wolves. "If it were not for those dogs stirring up trouble, I'm sure we would get along beautifully. Send them away and see what good friends we become." Those sheep were easily fooled. They persuaded the dogs to go away, and that very evening the wolves had the greatest feast of their lives. We may seem easy prey to some of the wolves that are on this board, but we are not foolish sheep. We will not give up our friendly guards and allow you to slaughter us or our CBA. And just as a reminder, a handbook is more like guidelines, and a CBA is enforceable rules, and the CBA would be what shuts me up in 4 seconds. Have a good evening.
Good evening, board members, everybody up front, everybody behind us. We are all here for one purpose, to try and get some unity. My name is Ann Broussard. I have worked the last 5 years in St. Tammany Parish. I'm a paraeducator. I have also worked at other jobs. These jobs did not include a handbook or a CBA. The work sites were not easy or fair, and the protections slim. I was involved in the 4 book clubs last year to review the existing CBA of 2020-2024. The suggestions were noted and considered for the draft CBA. Negotiations began in January of 2024, taking 6 months to complete. It was shocking that this draft CBA was not acceptable. The suggestion of an alternative handbook was surprising and disappointing. I did some research on the handbook. I found that a handbook is a guideline. It is not enforceable, it is easily altered, and not considered a legal document. It was implied that the CBA was long, 91 pages. Cut, cut, cut. The purpose of the CBA is that it gives a detail of all protections available to all employees. Employees want respect, guarantees and verbiage that protects their rights in the workforce. This is not an attack on management or the school board. In conclusion, it is our protection, our safety net. Thank you for your time and consideration. Ann Broussard.
Trinity Noble, teacher and parent in District 4. Sherry Sison's speech last week brought up my own shaky past with St. Tammany School's central office in the past union. I almost quit. I scoured all sources for jobs. No matter how many jobs there were in 2010, I didn't get excited about any prospect, so I stayed because I love teaching. I got pregnant After years of trying and using fertility medicine, I took myself off medication because I finally secured a permanent position. I knew that being pregnant and a May teacher would be a problem. Labor Day weekend 2010, I found out I was pregnant 2 months after being off of medicine and years of trying. When I told my then and now retired principal that I would need a para with me at all times because I wouldn't restrain, he said, "Do what you have to do." 3 weeks after I told 2 direct supervisors I was pregnant, another person came to observe my class to find ways to improve the May program. Hours later, I was told to go home and not return until I had a doctor's note. I was removed and they put a substitute in the class that year. I was not allowed to move to a calmer site or classroom, wasn't allowed to switch job classes, just had to leave, and quietly. Mr. Pete Jabbia was assistant superintendent at the time, and he would not return my husband's phone calls or emails. We finally began to get answers when my husband emailed then Superintendent Trey Fultz. Turns out, I would only get 90 days of 65% of my salary and then nothing. To quote my husband's email, the union head Elsie Burkhalter and union lawyers Rittenberg, Samuel, and Phillips have iterated they have never seen anything like this. I had to max out my student loans and take 9 hours at college in order to pay our mortgage until I went back to work in August. This is why a CBA and a strong union are important. If we had this current union staff, I believe that we could do this. How or why would I trust the school board and central office when they did nothing for me then? They are going to look out for the system's best interest.
Good evening. My name is Julie Taglauer. I teach at Woodlake Elementary. I've been a classroom teacher for 37 years, and I'm on my 26th year with St. Tammany. I have chosen to speak tonight for the first time to address a fundamental need of teachers and all school employees, and that is trust. Trust, it's the basis of all relationships, business, personal, and collegial. It's what we teachers establish every year with our students and parents. No relationship will ever exist without it. On Monday, July 8th, 2024, this board managed to lose that trust of teachers, paras, bus drivers, staff, and custodians, and the constituents you represent when you voted against the CBA. The CBA is a binding contract that establishes trust between all parties. We cannot trust a handbook with policies that can be changed without union representation. We cannot trust the process, as many of you tell us to do. Some board members want to try and establish trust with us again. This reminds me of one of my favorite Star Wars lines. There is no try. There is only do or not do. Mr. Osborne and Mr. Jabbia have our trust not because they tried to write a new CBA, but because they chose to do what everyone expected them to do. You have that same opportunity to do or not do. You have that same opportunity to establish trust with your vote tonight to reopen CBA negotiations. You will have that opportunity again soon to continue to build trust and accept the CBA when that time arises. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Superintendent Jabbia, School Board and Administration, I'm Donna Shoemake. I'm a District 1 constituent, and I'm a third grade teacher at Lancaster Elementary in District 9. I'm a very conservative Republican, and I've stated before that I'm not a union-strong person by any means, but I am a proud member of this union because of the positive impacts it's had in our school system. I want nothing more than for this district to function as that ever-elusive one team. Although we haven't achieved that yet, I do remain hopeful that we will achieve that status. You all directed Mr. Jabbia and Mr. Osborne to negotiate over the course of about 6 months with the assurances from many of you that if they come to an agreement, then of course you would accept it. Several of you even stated emphatically, we will have a CBA. 2 years ago, and at last week's call meeting, you would not agree to change the proposed amendments to the pupil progression plan because of the vital importance of honoring the process the board itself put into place. This is no different. You gave this directive to these two gentlemen, and they completed that task in good faith. For you to destroy it because there were holes in it or points of disagreement was short-sighted and in poor faith. When one of my students has holes or gaps in their learning, I don't write them off and abandon them. That's the very point that I dig in. I investigate, I analyze to find the points of weakness, and then I research and devise a plan to build a solid foundation on which this student can now grow and begin to achieve the best version of themselves possible. So let's take this time to dig in, to analyze, to research, to devise a plan to build a solid foundation for the CBA so that we can begin to achieve the best version of this parish and maybe even achieve that one team status. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board and administration, and to the public as well. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Brian Marks. I'm a science and social studies teacher at Fontainebleau Senior High. So wearing red was appropriate for two reasons tonight. Go Bulldogs. But in all seriousness, in my brief time, I wanted to say a few brief comments. One is that this week I've been at a science teacher training, which has been very productive, and unsolicited by me, several other teachers that work in various other parishes not so far from us, when they heard I was from St. Tammany, and I said, yeah, you probably heard on the news what's going on. They said, well, people are knocking on our doors. And I didn't ask for that. This is from more than one person in more than one parish. So when we say that a toxin of fear has been injected into the lives of thousands of people that work for you, again, it's an N of one. It's a sample of one. I don't have 500 people to tell you. And some of them I personally know, the people that have even left my school for other parishes this summer. And we're not even back yet. Beyond that, well, I mean, to be true to form, I always talk about my history teaching. We're talking about politics a lot. So let me quote from that great American president, Ronald Reagan. Trust but verify. What him and Mikhail Gorbachev always said in his second term when he decided the Cold War wasn't such a good idea. We need trust. I agree, mutually. And we need to verify each other with a system of mutually reinforcing guarantees of what we can do and what you can do. And that's called a CBA. And that's what we need. Because if we can't trust you and you can't trust us and we don't have any rights, then we're where we are. And what we need in doing that, I know my time is almost up, I'll finish in 15 seconds, is, and it's important to all of us, we need to regain that trust that we've lost with you. And we need to have the rights that we have, because every country in this world, I've been to many countries, they give you a handbook. North Korea gives you a handbook. America, you got a Bill of Rights. This CBA is a teacher's Bill of Rights, plus the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which are also pretty important. I'm an American, and while I have my disagreements with this government and many things, I know I have to finish. I can always fall back upon, and at its worst, America's not always honored those Bill of Rights. But I can fall back upon them and say there's a limit to what you can do. And out of that, the unity of the country, such as it is, has been there. And so when some people on the board, not many, but some have said, we're interested in talking about national partisan politics. That's why we don't want the CBA, because money goes to certain people from a certain team. If that's what you're really about, why aren't you in Milwaukee tonight? You're here to run the school system. You're here to educate the children.
Please,
I don't go to
there are
school.
many people on the line. Could
I
you please
apologize.
wrap it up now?
I apologize, sir. Thank you for your time.
Please state your name.
Karen Lusk. I'm a para. I just went and dropped this year, but I've been here for quite a while. And the school system used to be family. You didn't worry about a whole lot of stuff. But through the years, the CBA has saved me in a way that we get new teachers and some of them come from places that don't have what we have here. And there was a time we were all close. I didn't have a problem with anybody. But one of the teachers comes to me and says that the teachers in the mild moderate classes got together and they're like, paras are only supposed to have one break. Why are they taking two? So my teacher tells me, he says, we're going to have a talk, but everybody's going to get their one break like you're supposed to. And I said, no, we get two breaks. He said, no, they checked into it. You get one. Well, I have the union on speed dial, so I called the union right quick. I'm like, we still get 2 breaks, right? And they're like, yeah, why, you got a problem? And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna have to today. So anyway, the teacher's there and he's like, you have the union on speed dial, really? I said, yeah. I said, because this way we clarify things, nobody has to argue. I broke out my CBA copy that I had, I showed it to him or whatever, and then he was like, oh, okay, y'all get 2 breaks. But it's just misunderstandings. People come in from other places, they don't understand what we have. And paras, whether you believe it or not, are like a dumping ground. They take your breaks from you, they make you do more than you're supposed to, and unless you know what you're talking about and you have it in writing to show them, we get made to do things that we shouldn't be doing. Or we don't get the breaks we should. We have to work more than we do, or we don't get breaks and stuff. So with that CBA, I got my 2 breaks, which I would not have. They wanted to schedule my breaks and my lunches. I told them, showed it what it was in the CBA. Then they got that straight and we didn't get messed over that way. So I thank y'all for listening and I thank y'all for working with us. But we need that CBA so paras at least don't get messed over. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vivian Moore, and I'm a paraeducator at Covington High School. I work mainly with SWE students. I just wanted to address the same question many of my coworkers have answered tonight as to what the union has done for us, because last week one of y'all posed a question. And I thought about it for a while, and I remembered earlier this year, just before the end of the last school year really, there was a secondary injury fund form for all of us to fill out. And when I heard about it, there was only about a week left to do that. I don't quite know when it was implemented. But the union, I know, took action and gave us what would have been a very hurried and frantic week, gave us a month or so to find out what we needed to know, assurance-wise for privacy reasons, and doctor consultations, and all those other important things. And without that, I think it would have come to a lot more chaos than what would have happened, you know, with the union. And that's why we need the CBA and we need the union. I know I'm not making a lot of sense. But I thank you for your time and hope you all have a good evening, and I pray you all make the right vote.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Timmons. I'm coming here tonight as a parent. I am a proud parent of 2 boys, one who's about to enter junior high and one in high school. And as a parent, I want my children's teachers and the people at their schools to feel like they don't have to worry about their job going away in a split second. And right now, this very moment, my oldest son is at band camp. In fact, I have to leave here probably before the meeting ends to pick him up for 9. He is there under the direction of a band director who has been inducted into the Louisiana, I'm going to say it right, Association of Jazz Educators Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. That's somebody you employ. How amazing is that? One of my sons also this year was taught by a teacher who in 2015 was state finalist for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching. That's a real big deal. Really big deal. And that's who you employ. And those are just 2 of the amazing teachers and paraprofessionals, bus drivers, counselors, custodians, secretaries, and every other job description that's covered under the CBA. I can tell you at least one person out of every job description who has had an amazing impact on my children. They deserve protection and they deserve the stability of a CBA. Thank you.
Carrie Wishers, retired bus driver. Also, I was working for the union for a while. I just wanted to state that anyone who calls the union office or speaks with anyone from the union will be spoken with. Union member or not, questions will be answered. Also, I was a recipient of one of the benefits of being a union member when my husband passed away in a tragic accident in 2022. Being a union member that he was, and I was also, we received the accidental death benefit from his death of $36,200. And it was no cost to me. In fact, I didn't even realize I had it until they called and said, hey, did you realize you had this benefit for him being in the union? And I was totally shocked. It was no extra cost. It was just part of being part of the union. Also, I'd like to say that a school board member had a meeting at Fifth Ward just yesterday, a town hall meeting, and stated to a group of employees that teachers could have gotten a better raise if bus drivers weren't getting double dipping on their pay. Totally false. Information, drivers cannot claim any extras on their pay, on their income tax. No fuel, no tires, no nothing. That's why you give them $2 a mile, plus they get a fuel card. Nothing is double dipping. That's what y'all voted on for them to get. He ran his campaign, voted for the MOU, and then ran his campaign with a school bus. But yet, he's gonna pit employees against each other by saying that bus drivers are double dipping, so teachers can't get extra money because of that. Totally false.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ben Bonch, and I'm a resident of St. Tammany. I've been a resident here for about 20 years, and I'm just speaking here on my behalf. I don't have any children left in the education system right now. They've all graduated, and 20 years ago, my wife and I made the decision to move up here specifically for that reason. We lived on the South Shore, and our kids were getting ready to transition from elementary school into middle and high school, and we felt that if we stayed on the South Shore, that we would probably have to send them to private school. Or we could move to the North Shore, leave them in public school because the education system was so good, and, also enjoy a better quality of life. I also want to let you know, I'm a business manager for Local 1776, so I appreciate the position that Mr. Osborne is in. I represent about 5,500 federal employees of the Department of Defense nationwide here in Louisiana and 9 other states in the territory going. So I have a big territory representing public sector employees, okay? And so I can tell you that the first thing is that for all those on the board that are concerned, teachers that are in the union here want to be in the union, okay? It's not a closed shop. And even those states that used to have closed shops, Janus, the decision of the Supreme Court a few years ago, killed that. So if a teacher or any member, any employee of the school board is in the union, it's because they want to be. 2, I can tell you that because my job mirrors what Mr. Osborne does. We represent people whether they're in the union or not. Okay? The bottom line is that in order for me as a citizen and as a taxpayer to feel that I'm getting the best out of my taxes, I think that the union is the right way to go, and you guys should honor that choice from the teachers. And if you don't, then I would fully support the teachers striking, and I would be out there on the picket line with them. Thank you.
Barbara Sharp, bus driver. It is time all parties move forward to complete a CBA process. The employees in all areas of St. Tammany Parish schools need to return in August with the confidence, security, and relief that this contract gives them. Our children deserve a school environment that is not fraught with tension and stress and has 100% of all employees providing their services.
Hello, my name is Michelle Miners, and I'm a little nervous. I haven't come up here before, but I'm at Mandeville Elementary, and thank you for listening. I'm going to start with, first of all, unions with CBAs can provide employers with representatives that will be there to solve disputes as they arise. It is not a handbook. It is something that's binding, and we all know that. You can look it up. You can look up lawsuits that, people didn't get paid overtime that they should have, that said it in the handbook, but no, they lost. So they never got paid. It encourages cooperation with the employees and the employer, economic growth from the middle out, job security and stability, longer longevity for your staff, and better life for the workers. Study even showed that teachers who belong to unions and have a collective bargaining agreement have seen an income growth and equity rise in employee perks than in dealing with it themselves individually. Employers benefit from the CBA as it resolves issues collectively, which make it more efficient than addressing them individually. If you bargain well, there's a high chance of reduced employee turnover and improved trust between the employees and the employer. It establishes self-respect and responsibility. Productivity, morale, because their needs need to be validated. So I know you want a handbook. We want a CBA. It is legally binding, and it can't be just changed or erased. And if we need that validation, then, and the handbook says the same thing, but it gives us security, then why not what Amanda said? Let's try and give it to them. I know it's 91 pages, but let's try and figure something out.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kim McKinley. I'm a high school counselor in St. Tammany Parish. Everyone's talked a lot about a handbook, so I want to let everybody in the room know that there is a handbook that school counselors use very often. So that's Bulletin 741, right? So 741 is the Louisiana Handbook for School Administrators. There's a lot in this document, and especially, the ever-changing graduation requirements that we as school counselors, we use it almost as our Bible. But it's a handbook, and we, as a school district, and a lot of school districts as well, pick and choose what parts they're going to follow. I want to bring, so on page 42, under the section on comprehensive counseling, it states, school counselors shall spend the majority of their time on providing direct counseling related to students. Responsibilities of the school counselor shall not include the administration of discipline, substitute teaching, or administrative clerical duties. Refer to the Louisiana State Comprehensive Guidance and Counseling Model. The model itself is an excellent resource for how school counselors should be utilized. In Chapter 5, for time, there's a list of appropriate and inappropriate activities for school counselors. Some of the inappropriate activities are, you will not perform disciplinary actions, which can include duty assignments. Coordinating achievement tests. We know we've got schools using their counselors as test coordinators. Preparing individual education plans. We know we've got schools using their counselors as 504 coordinators. And so this is all, the Louisiana handbook is saying, let's go to the school counseling model. In addition to the CBA this year addresses the disciplinary actions part for counselors, and I'm appreciative of that because anything that we can have is a win for our kiddos, and our relationship is, really important to us. But all I wanted to point out is that we pick and choose, even a handbook from the state, what we're going to follow. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michaela Bennett. I am a second grade teacher at the best elementary school in America, Mayfield. Whenever I was younger, I wanted to be 7 different things. I changed my major in college at least 7 times, and I ended up in education. And I loved it because I could do everything that I wanted, be everyone that I wanted to the students that I was teaching. Whenever I got hired in December 2020, it was COVID, and my administration was not who it is now. I used to read the CBA to fall asleep at night because my principal would call me into her office at least once a week to yell at me, make me cry. And I used to read that book to go to sleep at night. And whenever I became a teacher here, I joined the union and haven't looked back. I adore them. I haven't needed them because I am an excellent teacher. But just having that security and being able to say that I have protections and these are the laws that my supervisors have to follow is something that helped me sleep at night. My first 2 years as a teacher here under the principal that I had. Now I have a rock star principal. I'll probably never need the CBA, but I think about others who have administrators that aren't like mine. And I think that they deserve the protection that the CBA gives us. Like everyone else said, handbooks are guidance. They can be followed or they don't have to be. They can be changed. They don't have to agree. Whereas a CBA is in law and it's something that we have to follow. So I just wanted to share my story. Thank you all for your time.
I talk really fast, so I'll be fast. My name is Scarlett Dupuy. I live in District 3, and I work in Mr. Kuzan's district. And I wanted to make reference to a comment made by a board member, and also talk about not what the CBA has done for me, but what it will do for us. So a board member stated that even with the CBA, sometime in the past few years, there was a bus driver strike. Either those bus drivers were not in the union or they were not union strong. Because let me tell you what's going to happen. Not if, but when. In August, we're going to go back to school and the air conditioners aren't going to work. And I can tell you right now, if there is ever a time to not show up at school, and I can tell you that I have cajoled and begged and bought breakfast for people and, done all kind of things to get them there. But they were there. And I'm on the phone with him and her and texting and calling and sweating and fussing and cussing, but I'm there. I know they're difficult to work with sometimes. They don't get the air conditioners fixed as fast as I want them to. But we're there. And in August, when we get back to school and the air conditioner's not working, day after day after day, we're going to be there, sweating, but we're going to be there. Thank you.
Good evening, board, staff, and Superintendent Jabia. I'm Mark Curry-Terrio, and I'm a suite teacher at Folsom Junior High School. I stand before you as a dedicated educator in our public education system and someone deeply committed to the success of our students and our school community. Today, I wish to emphasize the critical importance of going back to the table to continue with the CBA. Going back to the table is not merely about updating terms. It is about rebuilding trust that is now tainted. In our previous negotiating sessions, we cultivated a spirit of collaboration and mutual respect. These positive relationships allowed us to create an agreement that is fair, is forward-thinking, and beneficial for all parties involved. This trust and cooperation must continue if we are to address the new challenges we face and seize new opportunities for growth. Trust is the cornerstone of any effective partnership. By coming back to the negotiating table, we are demonstrating our commitment to transparency, open dialogue, and a shared vision for the future. I urge the school board to consider the long-term benefits of this and vote to send us back to the table tonight. Let us move forward together, leveraging the trust and positive relationships that we have started to build to create a future that is bright for our students, our educators, and our entire school community. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, board, administration. You've heard from the people tonight, the second week in a row. I appreciate you last week, and I'm hoping for the same result today. This morning was heartening. Frank and I sat down, the two teams sat down, and it was like we picked up right where we left off. Mr. Kuzan's seen all this over the years more than anybody, and he said over and over, we have to get the process right and not bring it in this boardroom and be chaotic. I think Frank and I, with the mediator, the teams, we found the right formula. But I think we need to include the board more. And that's never in the history. You can ask Mr. Kuzan. No board member has wanted that kind of input, and I think it's great. But we have to create structures that allow for that. I don't think being at the table is one, but I think y'all should be informed, see the actual policy, or the proposals rather, as time is going on. But that's something for the future. Right now, let's land the plane. Let's get this deal done. I wanted to point out a couple of things since the Wildcat strike, that was the unsanctioned bus half-day sick out. I wanted to say that we worked tirelessly to prevent things like that, and it hit a boiling point because bargaining was broken at that time. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration. We have since fixed those structures, but I want to let y'all know that happened on a Friday. We called an emergency meeting. We didn't ask, are you a member or not member? Did you participate? Did you not participate? But the rumor was that it was going to continue that following Monday. So on Super Bowl Sunday, Stephanie and I went up there. We didn't know how many were going to show, so she bought some gas station speaker just in case we had to talk to a parking lot. But I want you to let you know it didn't happen. Superintendent Jabby and I sat down the rest of that week. I couldn't quite come to terms, but finally the board came through and we solved that problem. With the SIF, the SIF, that's an example, Ms. Fauntleroy, you talked about MOUs. We don't want to open up negotiations all the time, but if a situation happens, we can. We have that flexibility. These gentlemen worked with us, Mr. Alfonso, Frank Jabbia, and I believe Ms. Niehaus had input because there was so much anxiety over that thing. But I didn't want to tank it because I believed it was a good program that can save this board money, but we understood the anxiety, so we made an MOU that tried to address those concerns, and I think we were successful at that. So just keep those things in mind. These are tools to achieve labor peace. We're not always going to agree, but if we have these structures and we're committed to them, then we can move mountains. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll open it up for board comments. Seeing no board comments? Oh. Ms. Lemmy.
You know we like to talk. I want to start with saying thank you to Stephanie for your comments starting tonight. I appreciate that. And just a couple of really quick comments, because I know it doesn't do any good to go into too much of it. I want to say, I think it was Michaela. Did you say you're at Mayfield now? All I can say is you are definitely meant to be a second grade teacher. Your sweet voice and your beautiful smile, I was just like, oh yes, she teaches second grade. Oh yes, she's perfect. So thank you for your comments. And I want to thank everybody who reached out to me over the last week or so. I was in Memphis for a week with baseball for my boys, but I still got lots of direct messages. And I really appreciate the stories that were shared. Many of them, like tonight's stories, did take place outside of the parish, that they still have this fear of what could happen, of mistreatment. I heard a lot of those. And I know sometimes when it's personal, like some people got emotional up here for different things, that creates a really strong, passionate response, right? And that passion, when you feel like you've been lied to or mistreated or whatever your feelings are, becomes anger. And then the anger becomes fight or flight, right? So you're either going to fight viciously or just retreat and go somewhere else. So the people who reached out and shared their stories, I do appreciate that very much. I just want to say one more time, based on some of the things that were said here tonight, I heard people talking about one team and about how important the CBA is. Miss Karen, when you were talking about the breaks and people coming from other schools, and there wasn't any anger going on. It was just somebody came from somewhere else and was taking the breaks away, and you had something in writing that showed that you still get these breaks. And that resonated with me, and I want to go back to why I didn't vote for the CBA. When I came in Monday, I thought that my concerns from the week previous about the 90 minutes of duty, they had been talked about with you guys, and I thought they were resolved. And when I got to executive session and realized it was a verbal agreement, I knew that my 3 schools that I represent will not have 90 minutes of duty a week because it's impossible. And I talked to 2 administrators at this point, and I know exactly where their minutes were for 2 of them. One of them was only 20 minutes more than that. The other one was looking at like 30. So I wanted that in writing. So when you get a CBA that the board promised you, that's a policy, and you look at it and you're one of those schools, you don't find out when you go to opening day and you get your duty schedule that, I have more than 90. Now we have to put out fires everywhere because only some teachers are guaranteed 90 minutes of duty as of right now. So for me, that was a thing about integrity. Like, I can't represent my teachers, and I did say it the week before. And I did say it again during the meeting. And Mr. Osborne did give me his word that he would not file a grievance, but that still was not going to change the writing that the teachers were going to receive and fall asleep reading and be their comfort and their proof that they had this guarantee that we voted in, and my teachers were not getting that guarantee. They weren't. Now, did they want me to vote it down? No, they still wanted the CBA. They didn't want me to not have a CBA because they weren't going to get it, but I couldn't sign my name to that document. So I'll say that over and over again because as I heard you guys talk, also something else that Mr. Osborne, or that many of you said about the trust being tainted, I understand that completely. And after talking to some of you, after hearing from some of you, I just said, like, I wish I could just vote it down even further because it was so rude and vicious, and that's your natural thing, right? Either fight or flight. So I either want to quit or I want to fight back. But when you think about why you're here and your real purpose, that's obviously not what I'm going to do. But Mr. Osborne, you said when you were talking about we had broken negotiation when that Wildcat, that was chaos times, right? And we have moved past it. But like you all said, there's a difference between once trust is broken, we can say whatever we want to say to you, but until we do it, until our actions show it, you still have some tainted trust. Well, Mr. Osborne, we still had some tainted trust between you and I. I'm not talking about anybody else because I didn't talk to anybody else. But because of what we went through with negotiating, right? That's in my head like, oh my goodness, that was chaos last time. Well, we've really come very far. But when we got here, and I'd already addressed a concern from the week before, and then I brought it up again, and you said, you have my word. I'm not going to file a grievance. And I'm thinking, okay, that's 3 of my schools, my only 3 schools. Do you understand how that tainted trust still came into play, that I can't just take a verbal, I need it fixed in writing, that we're going to keep 90 minutes for where it's feasible, and then, okay. So I just want to share that one more time because I am the kind of person that feels like I need to be heard over and over and over again if that takes. You don't have to agree, but you need to understand because there was a purpose there. So anyway, thank you all for sharing your stories and for coming out in the rain. Thanks.
Ms. Hanson.
Thank you. And again, I want to apologize for my absence last week. As I said previously, I had COVID and it hit me hard, so I wasn't able to be here. So I apologize to all my constituents because I wasn't here to represent your voices. And I apologize for my fellow board members who had to go through this and I wasn't able to participate in those discussions. I'd like to make some observations related to the document. As a board member, I'm going to tell you what I own as far as my responsibility as to what happened last Monday. Had I been here or not been here, regardless, my responsibility. Mr. Osborne brought up that, you know, the board being more involved in the, not necessarily the negotiations, but being more involved. I do believe that we do have structures in place where the superintendent can share with us the updates and the process that's being made. I don't feel comfortable, and I've already shared this with the superintendent, I don't feel comfortable that we were giving hard-line, detailed items as to what was going to be in, what had to be taken out, and what the union needed and what we as administration, what the administration needed to operate. So I'm going to tell you this. I don't feel like I did my due diligence in advance to prepare for what would have been what I would have had to vote on July 8th had I been there. So in the future, so if this gets passed tonight, if it gets passed, I have no idea. If it gets passed and we go back to negotiation, I want to know what are we going to do differently so that we don't have another situation in which everyone's sitting in a room wondering whether it's going to go up or down and wondering, you know, what is going to be in it. And I felt the same way last week. I've met with the superintendent. I've already shared this concern with him. I feel like part of the responsibility is also on him to to communicate with us. All due respect, Mr. Osborne, it's not our role to negotiate with you. It is unethical for us to negotiate a document that we then have to vote on. It is our responsibility to communicate with the superintendent as to what is going to be in the document and whether or not this is something that, one, we can support, whether logistically or financially. So I do believe that that process needs to be honed out a little bit better. Nevertheless, here we are, the mistakes we've made. Many of my board members last week, when I was finally able to get up and, answer emails and talk to some of the board members, they did have problems with the CBA. Primarily, the aspects with, the elementary duty teachers. Well, one of my schools is an elementary school, and they would have had problems meeting that 90-minute duty schedule. And as it was written in the CBA, it was everyone's going to get 90 minutes or they're going to get paid. So from a safety perspective, we can't possibly limit it just to 90 minutes. And we have to err on the side of caution and safety, and leaving it at 90 minutes would have compromised some of our students, especially our smaller students. And that's just something we can't do. On the other hand, we fiscally cannot afford to provide more monies. We are already running at a deficit. Not that we don't have good money in reserves. We have great money in reserves. That keeps us fiscally sound. But we're running at a deficit because of inflation going on right now. So we can't provide any more monetary, put any more monetary benefits out there. Mr. Jabbia had mentioned that, and I was watching the meeting on Thursday night, that we are his 15 bosses. And I know how I can see, and I talked to him the other day about how difficult that is to have the 15 bosses, very strong-minded people up here and have very differing opinions, okay? And trying to come to a consensus with us, all of our 15. Well, each one of our board members represents a district. I have 11,000 in my district. And not all of them have school children. Not all of them are employees. A lot of them are people that, property owners that pay a lot of taxes. And they're going to get their tax bill in December and they're going to say, how much goes to the school system? And they're going to be concerned. And I understand their concern because we have to come together on things. As to the CBA itself, I don't oppose it. And let me tell you why. I've spoken with many teachers and I've responded to many emails from employees. And through it, I realized that employees rely on this document. We can say a handbook is legally binding, and I've been in the school system and in a classroom, in an administrative, where we said this is what the handbook said, and we followed the handbook. And if you didn't follow the handbook, then there could be repercussions. Legal repercussions as well. However, our employees don't see it like that. Our employees see it that the CBA is their protection, their security. I heard somebody say their safety net. So what I'm going to say is this: I will support it for the employees because they need it. They feel as though they need it. I don't believe it's a perfect document. I believe we need to cut out those things that we can't financially, promise. But I understand that you need the security of it. I am going to say this, and it's not going to come across well, and I apologize in advance if it comes off too harsh, but I'm just going to say this. I'm not fond of the actions of the union, and for every individual that was up here that spoke in favor of the union and support that the union provides for them, there are individuals out there that haven't had the same experience. And there are individuals out there who do not support the union. And we have to represent all those voices. Mr. Osborne, every time you've come up here, you've told us, things are going well. Frank and I are really bonding together. We're getting things done. But then when things didn't go the way you wanted it to go last Monday, your words were, "This is war." Now, what do we expect? What do we expect? I expect professionalism. I expect professionalism from our leaders. I expect us to be professional, this board to be professional. And I understand your trust issues. I understand that, which is why I feel like I need to support the CBA. But we're not here to, my role as a board member is to represent my constituents, to represent the employees, and to do what's best interest of the employees and the students. It's not to negotiate with the union. I'm not wanting to interfere in any way with employees' rights to organize, because that's law. You have the right to organize. But what I am here to say is I don't like any influence that the union may have on board members. I don't believe we should be part of negotiations. It's unethical. It's not, Mr. Osborne, I don't believe it's your role to try to serve as our superintendent by working and telling us how we need to do things. I don't believe it's your role to tell us how to do things as board members. Your role is to represent the union. And I feel like every one of us would be best served if we stayed in our lane. Look, we don't have to agree. I hear mumblings. We don't have to agree. We won't. We're not going to agree. But we have a responsibility to this parish to fulfill the responsibilities of our role. We have a very divided board, which is obvious. But it is in our best interest to respect however each person votes, to respect the outcome, and try to do what we can to support our employees. I believe we show support for our employees by having a positive vote tonight to allow the union to continue working on negotiations with the CBA. But at the same time, I want to say this. What are we going to do differently to ensure we're not right back in the same situation again? We have to make sure we do not put things in the CBA that will compromise safety of students, nor are going to add an additional financial burden to our district. So I want to tell you, I hear you. I understand your breach of trust. Therefore, I am supporting the CBA, but we got to move forward differently. Thank you.
Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to be very clear that I am not pro or anti-federation. I'm relatively indifferent, nor am I anti-union leadership. In fact, I think Mr. Osborne is a solid leader and has done a good job for this district and its employees. Brant and Stephanie, I truly believe that. I'm also not against what the CBA is meant to do in terms of providing expectations of employees, management, working conditions, protections, and agreement between employees and administration, all of which are provided in state and federal laws. I really don't see any difference in calling this document a CBA, employee agreement, employee handbook, or book of regurgitated state law. My problem is that we spent 6 months working on the CBA and it still was not a document that this board would approve. It told me that the process was broken. Does the CBA truly reflect the collective voice of every employee in this district? I believe we have many issues here, and every time we fill this room to debate these controversial issues, it's filled with emotion and generally one-sided in public comments. Returning to school from COVID, masking kids, library books, bus driver pay, and now this CBA. In my 5.5 years on this board, I've witnessed too much division to sit back and feel good about the hostile environment that's been created. I think we owe it to ourselves to look for a different way to move our district forward in a positive direction. Last week, I proposed the formation of a district advisory team that would include more teachers, more employee groups, more stakeholders, and yes, the Federation as part of a team that would negotiate these issues in a collective voice, and I think it can work. I'm not going to go spend a lot of time tonight on how this group is elected or what members it should consist of. I tried last week. But if the results of this team are a document called a CBA, then I will absolutely support it because I will know that it represents the collective voice of all employees. There are readily available examples of how this works and works well for other school districts, and union representation is a vital part of that process. I anticipate that this resolution will pass tonight. Mr. Jabbia, Mr. Osborne, I implore you to bring us a CBA that this board can approve and bring it soon. My position tonight should not be taken as a lack of support for our employees. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's acknowledgement that at least I believe we have a problem, and I don't think I'm alone. The first step to recovery is admitting we have a problem, and we need to find ways that we haven't used before to fix it, or else we'll just be back here in this contentious environment time and time again. It's unconfirmed, but many say Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. This school district, its employees, and its leadership should welcome change that moves our school system in a positive direction. Thank you.
Mr. Fino Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. As I stated at the end of the meeting on Monday of last week, that I apologize for not being here, but if you've been here the whole night, you know why I wasn't here. With that being said, just a few things, because I did watch the meeting in Kansas. Many of you are here tonight in support of it, and I think it's fantastic that you've come out tonight and last week, because it was standing room only last week. Many of the building representatives spoke how people are afraid, people are scared of retaliation, which is something that this board wishes would not be, but it's in every job and we know it. But on the flip side of that, there are many people who are not in support of you guys, that they do not want, they're not against the union, but they're against the CBA. Those people did not email me because they do not want to be known, because they do not want the retaliation. So while I understand that you guys have a job, understand that there's many of people who have reached out to me who are not in support of this. So I cannot only support those that are the loudest. I have to be the voice for those who are afraid to stand up as well. So if I am the one who has to take the heat, if I am the one who has to take the nastiness on Facebook, if I'm the one whose kids have to say, Mom, why is everybody talking trash about you? Then I'll take it. Because that is what I said I would do, and that's what I will do. It's not for everyone, and somebody has to be their voice because they are afraid to stand up as well. And I hope you can understand that, given that you have some people who are afraid to stand up and they go through you as well. So I just hope you would understand that. To the board, two things. Those of you who last Thursday held your ground, didn't change your vote, I applaud you. Because as you know, my name has been dragged through the mud with some of yours, and it takes a lot to stand up here and stand your ground, no matter what. For those of you who changed your vote, I applaud you as well, because it took just as much guts for you to change your vote as it did to stand your ground. Whatever the reasons were why the vote changed, I have not spoken to a single board member about any of this since I've been out of town. I applaud you, because again, it took a lot of courage to do that. One board member said that I knew they were changing their vote, and they said, I hope you don't think I stabbed you in the back. Absolutely not. There's nobody up here stabbing me in the back. It is what it is. I'm not against anyone for doing what they did. Frank, it's going to come out bad, but I respect you for all that you do. I really do. I think you're a great superintendent. You made the comment that you have 15 bosses, and that does suck for you. I'm sorry. But I will tell you, for me as one of the bosses, if we ask you or I ask you a direct question, please do not beat around the bush. Give it to me straight. Because there is no way that an hour after this meeting, you had all those thoughts that some of our board members said you had when they spoke to you, that you didn't have at this meeting. If those responses would have come out, the vote may have not have been the same, but maybe the amendment would have been a little different. I don't know. But as Mr. Ledette said, I was highly disappointed that you didn't speak up. It is what it is. Brandt. Words are not something we take lightly. Kids cannot go to school saying something and the teachers say, you can't say that. And they're like, well, I meant it this way. It doesn't matter. You're, like Ms. Hanson brought up, I know people are going to mumble when I say it, but don't you ever come in this room again talking about war. Given what just happened to our country earlier this week, poor choice of words.
Please think before you speak. You have got to watch. We make our kids do it. You can laugh all you want. We have kids that come in and say things all the time, and they get expelled because it's a threat. And we cannot have that. We are the leaders up here, and that's what we have to do. We cannot have kids watching this meeting, because some probably do, and hear things like that. For the lady, I don't know anybody's name because I didn't write it down in Kansas, who said that she worked without air conditioning for an entire year. I wish you would have emailed somebody up here. I'm not saying that, and if you did, it wasn't me. But if you, I know air conditioners are a problem. I know somebody spoke of it earlier today, but that's unacceptable. It's too hot in Southeast Louisiana to work without an air conditioner. It truly is. So if that happens again, y'all, I know you all have our email addresses. We've gotten all kinds of emails. Please let us know. Change is never easy. And I know nobody likes change. Nobody does. And I use a simple example from a cell phone. Look at where we started with a bag and a cord and all this and how much it costs to what we have now. And nobody wants to go back to the bag phone. So I'm not saying that a handbook, the way that I was thinking of the handbook is not the way everybody's describing it here, is not the bag phone. Hold on. And yes or no was our option last week. It was yes or no. And the way the vote went for the amendment, I'm pretty sure the vote would have been no, to have nothing. We were trying to figure out something to have so that there was something. Again, I was the one who brought it up. I don't feel like I was bullied into doing it. I took the heat, and I'll take the heat. It's fine. No matter what happens tonight, have always been for the best interest of everybody in the school system, whether it be from the teachers to the students and everybody in between. And that will not change no matter how this vote goes tonight, no matter how it goes. On a lighter note, in case there are any children watching tonight, there was a lady who I think misspoke last Thursday when she stated that she told her child that Santa Claus was not real. She clearly misspoke, because we all know Santa Claus is real, and I cannot afford the presents that Santa Claus brings to my children. So anyone watching, please know that Santa Claus is real. Thank you.
Mr. Harrell.
Thank you, President Bro. If given a chance, I think this board administration can do a better job than what we have in the CBA. Whether it's a new CBA or an employee handbook, I think we can do a better job than what we have right now. Over the last week, a few things have really bothered me, and I guess it's probably the place to address it. First, Ms. Gallagher, thank you for your service. I know the war comment affects you more than most. But one of the things that's really bothered me over in the last week, it seems that we've had quite a few conflicts within our own board policy of BBBA. And to piggyback on what Ms. Hanson said about us negotiating and it's unethical for us to negotiate and also vote on the items. Your email, Mr. Bro, after you had a long discussion with the Federation president, he's agreed to address all of your concerns and those expressed by the board members. I appreciate you speaking on our behalf, but I did not ask you to. I appreciate you talking to him and trying to work things out, but I think it puts us in an awkward situation when we've charged Superintendent Jabbia to do all the negotiation. After this discussion, we did have an item put on our agenda that did conflict with BBBA. That's the kind of non-transparent backroom deals that Ms. Hurstis has mentioned several times in the last 2 years that's happened on this board. We want to be transparent. We don't want to have phone call conversations agreeing to do something or to negotiate. It puts us all in a bad predicament. I don't want to negotiate with the union. I want Superintendent Jabbia to. I just want to vote on what the administration brings to us. Thank you.
Ms. Lamy.
Just very quickly, I wanted to say, I do believe the divisiveness is worse it's ever been. But I did have teachers in my schools, my 3 schools, do some data collecting from the other teachers. And overwhelmingly, all 3 of my schools want the CBA. Overwhelmingly. Like, not even comparison. I have gotten several emails that supported getting rid of it, trying to do something different, voicing their, that the division, the us against them, the negativity, the Facebook drama, the look of what, like, the lack of respect for educators based on things that I saw my kids' teachers say this, that kind of stuff. But when I looked at who those people were, they were not my teachers in my schools, and most of them were not my constituents. They were just people that reached out. So I just wanted to thank Ms. Macaluso, Ms. Hibbs, Ms. Cochran, and Ms. Melton for collecting all the data from those schools for me. I appreciate it. And the last thing, just because he deserves the props, but my dad was the local chairman for the BLE for Norfolk Southern for 23 years. And as a kid growing up, I watched what that man did for employees. And so I see myself that way, even though I only have limited power. So when we say we can do it, it's like trying to convince you that we care as much. But I've realized that it's something that employees feel they need. So, thank you.
Ms. Baker.
First of all, I would like to thank all the people that took their time out of their day and their summer to meet with me. Also, thank you to everyone who emailed me, even in favor of the way I voted or not in favor of how I voted. And I said a lot last week. I really did. And I got raked through the coals for it. But what did come out of that is I made a couple of phone calls and I said, help me understand. And I never want to do business on Facebook. I want to just see, whose kid's birthday it is and when they graduate and prom season and all that fun stuff. But what happened this week, and in the phone call that was received, which did not have to be received, is it did give me hope. And this person is just, in my book, I never knew this person, but I took it upon myself to call them and see if we could have a conversation. And I just can't say how much that means to me and how I do feel a sense of hope. It doesn't change my stance, but I do appreciate the conversation and I do hear you. I'm not there with the CBA. But again, I know that person is in this room and I don't want to call anybody out, but I do want to publicly say thank you for me feeling heard and for you just being a class act. So thank you.
I don't want to take any personal attacks, but there was no violation of any policy. Monday night, we voted up or down on a CBA and said we would develop a handbook. Thursday night, we said renegotiate. There is no conflict there. The CBA was voted down as it was, and we are still developing a handbook. They are 2 different things, and our attorney verified that. We could not violate our policy. Secondly, Mr. Brian Osborne is my constituent. I listen to all my constituents. He called me and expressed his concerns. I countered with my concerns. He agreed that there were some problems with the CBA that needed to be worked on. He convinced me that a motion to renegotiate, we could solve these issues. Based on that, and believe me, I heard from plenty of my constituents in addition to Brand. And others outside of my constituency. And I listened to everybody, and I made a determination based on what I heard. And I will not apologize for that. And I just wanted to say that to defend myself. I don't think your charges are appropriate at all. Mr. Harrell, you have a response.
No response to that. I'm pretty sure we do have some BBBA violations or conflicting information. And I know you had a conversation. I understand that, and he is your constituent. But he was not speaking to the board member from District 13. By his own admission, it was president to president. And as president, you represent all of us. Had he stated he made a phone call to his board member, we would not have this conversation. Second, out of curiosity, after I got off, it kind of made me wonder. After the board member from District 1, Mr. Green's statement last week about public records requests of emails, did we have any emails requested? Any public records requests received in the last week?
Yes.
Yes, sir, we did.
How many did we get?
A total of 3 by 2 people.
Okay. For Mr. Green's emails or for multiple?
Mostly Mr. Green's.
Thank you so much for that information.
Mr. Kuzan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say, I'm always the last one to speak. How about that? How about that?
Michelle's up next.
I'm just joking. That's just joking. First of all, I have some things to say. I may go from one end to the other, but just please try to stay with me. As a board, we requested Mr. Osborne, Mr. Jabu to meet and negotiate this CBA. They brought back some things, 91 pages. That was a lot to absorb in 4 days, especially for me, you know. But some of the things they brought back, needed to clarify them. And I think that we could have brought that to we brought it to Mr. Jabi, and we, at that particular time, we were given 3 options when we had a meeting. And one of the options that I supported was that we go back.
Point of order.
You can't.
I'm sorry.
You can't talk about that.
I'm sorry. But anyway, some board members had the problems with the length of the things that were brought back. So I'm going to support my superintendent. And I feel that as a board, we should not be hashing out our discrepancies among each other in front of the public. I feel that as board members, we should be able to speak to each other and bring that out before we bring it here. And with that said, I support the motion to go back and renegotiate. Let them renegotiate. Thank you.
Ms. Hurst.
Well, here's one of them times where I thought I could sit back, but I'm having one of them little exorcist moments. Yeah, one of my little exorcist moments right now. It's like when the Godfather, they bring me back in.
Easy.
You know, I'm gonna try. But Mr. Alphabet board member over here spewing out all these alphabets over here got me a little flustered. Because you're calling out our school board president with your back deal, little deals. You of all people gonna start calling out backroom deals.
Say not to do this.
Point of order.
Please keep down and no personal attack, please.
Oh, no personal attacks?
It was only 2 letters.
No personal attacks? He just did it to you, Mr. Bro.
Ms. Hurst, you have the floor.
I do have the floor.
Easy.
Not that easy. Because I think what he just did was wrong. Because it takes it takes 2 board members to bring up an agenda item, and that's exactly what he did. He brought up an agenda item, and it happened to be a resolution that I guess you didn't like. So what? You didn't like it. So now you want to bring it up to the board and cause a circus. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know, this stuff just boils my blood. I'm from the East. When you got a flipping problem, you bring it out to the playground. This is the playground right now. Come on. You have problems? Y'all going against this CBA simply because you have a problem with one man. Because he's got, what, mean tweets? That's what it's all about. Because y'all think he's a bully. That's what it's all about. You don't like it. You don't like that y'all were on the naughty list during Christmas. Boo freaking who? If that's y'all's biggest problem, I am so sorry. I thought it was funny. Even if I was on his naughty list, I would have laughed. If that's your biggest problem, I am so sorry. Oh, he's a bully. So what? Grow a pair, you know?
Michelle, stop.
No, I'm sick of it.
Well, you
I'm just
can't
so
say
sick
that,
of it.
Michelle, you gotta stop.
I'm just so sick of it. It's a personal issue is what y'all have. It's a personal issue. Yeah, some of these board members, you even mentioned something too about, you know, oh, I still have negotiations issues.
Ms. Hurst, please
No,
confine
I'm
your
just-
comments
okay, I'm
to the
done,
motion.
I'm done.
Ms. Fauntleroy.
Thank you, Mr. Bro, and I won't be near as entertaining, I'm sorry. I just have a few things I want to say. And I'll probably ramble a little. You guys know, excuse me, I have the floor.
I'm sorry.
You know, I voted to keep the CBA not go to a handbook the first time around. And I told you my reasons. Many have been said here tonight, like Mr. Kuzian. I just felt like Mr. Jabbia was our negotiator. Now, I don't say that to say that I disagree with a lot of what's been said by the people who voted no, because, but I do agree with Ms. Hanson. We are here, we have a decision to make whether to proceed or not. We need to take what's before us and move on. And, you know, whether you agree with how they vote or they don't, we need to support the decision. I do believe that Mr. Green makes an excellent point when he talks about more representation. I do believe these advisory committees, or whatever he called them, would be a great idea, even with a CBA. Not all of our employees are in the union, so if you had an elected member from every school, elected by the entire staff, it could be a union employee, it might not be. But every employee then would feel like they had a voice, a vote. They picked the person, not the principal, the employees. So I think more voices are better. That board, or whatever you want to call them, would serve as a voice to Mr. Jabbia, just like his executive board serves as a voice to him. I don't see why you can't have both. So I'm not going to throw out every idea someone has just because I don't like the way they voted. If we had something like that in place and it was working successfully, I think it would reduce anxiety right now about the potential of something being taken away from you. But I do want you to know, if you'd watched the legislature, I mean, they did make an attempt to throw out collective bargaining rights. You know, it didn't pass this time, but who knows what will happen. So it won't hurt to have other structures in place for us to consider those. And I know Mr. Jabbia has started something like that with his advisory panel, but I personally just think it would be better if it was elected by the employees, not the principal. I do agree with Ms. Hanson. You guys are here and you're very loud, and we hear your voices, but I have over 10,000 constituents in my area as well. And while they're not here, I have received a lot of other emails with different thoughts. So, and I've had a lot that remind me that I represent taxpayers, that I don't represent just teachers, just employees, I represent taxpayers. I've gotten those emails too. I'm not saying that to say I changed my vote, I'm just saying there's a lot to be considered here about our job, and Ms. Hanson's right, we all have a different lane that we need to stay in for the process to work correctly. I do think improvements could have been made to the process. I think if we had known about some of this a little bit further ahead of time, we might not be here tonight. I do think if we had made this resolution out the gate, we'd have been a lot better off. We did have problems. There are problems with it. Every problem they've mentioned are legitimate, and they do need to be addressed. But we just took a rocky road to get there, to get that on the agenda. I do want to remind you that if this does pass tonight, it's to address those problems. So that document still has to address those concerns. I think we need our concerns voiced in that CBA. I think we jumped into the process a little late, maybe, and put the negotiators in this position. But we've all given Mr. Jabby our feedback now on our concerns. He has those, but they're coming from 15 different perspectives, you know, and every one of us has a different thing that we're passionate about being corrected. So they're going to have, you know, a hard time addressing all that. So when they get that done, hopefully if this passes tonight, it's still got to be approved, you know. So I'm just trying to make everyone understand the process, and just make you understand that just because someone up here doesn't agree with you or may not be voting the way you want, it doesn't mean they don't represent you. They're just doing it in a different way. You know, I just went on a trip with my kids. We all went to the same place, but we all took a different route. They weren't wrong, I wasn't wrong. Of course, my way was better, but no. But my point is, you know, they're not wrong because they disagree with the way to get there. And in fact, our diversity is our strength. When you hash things out, hopefully you get to the best solution. You know, if everyone agrees, you may miss something. And I do want to thank all the emails I've received, no matter what side, have been so professional, so backed up with facts, so backed up with situations. I'm a little disappointed in social media, but I just hope we can all behave in a way that we would expect our children to behave. That would that we could model that a little bit better. Just, you know, I'm gonna support going back and trying to get the problems right, and if they're fixed, then I'll support it, and if they're not, you know, I'm not gonna make a commitment to that, so.
Ms. Rutherford.
Okay. I would like to share some information I received in an email from a stakeholder in this district, and does not work for the system. But, and I'm going to be quoting some of it, and some of it I'm just going to be talking about. So what he spoke about was with the CBA worked out between our superintendent and the union president, teachers are empowered and protected and compensated as fairly as we possibly can. Expectations are for all stakeholders, they're clear and achievable, and our students become the leaders who push our state and nation to the greatness. I will say again, like I said last week, there are a few parishes who are as blessed to have such quality educators, administrators, bus drivers, support staff, and school board members who show up for the students. Why would we wish to forsake this to be like any other district? Some districts who don't have the CBA. I do want to see our district become like so many others in our state. I do not want to see our district become like so many others in the state. Of the 125 school districts in Louisiana, I would rather St. Tammany be the exception and the flagship a shining leader that has a successful educational atmosphere. Our educators are among the most capable in the state. The union strives for fairness and justice for all. Our school leadership at all levels know the power of a well-supported teacher and does their best to show it each day. In good faith, I hope that at curtain call, hopefully in just a little while, the right call will be made, for the stakes are too high to make any other. I ask the board to not forsake the faith invested in each of us. An affirmation of the CBA is an affirmation for our district's past and a promise for our district's future.
Ms. Moore.
Mr. Kuzan, I see that you're after me. You're going to finish out. I am standing, tonight, I talk very little usually. My husband tells me that all the time. I do my homework before the board meetings, though, and get questions answered. I call the support staff that does all the work. I am going to stand behind my vote that I made, and I have appreciated all the comments, pros and cons, that have come to me, but in good conscience, I could not vote against this. Thank you. Mr. Kuzan, are you going to call the question? You've already talked.
Already on.
I think you'd like to call my name.
It's on.
Okay.
Mr. Kuzan.
Mr. President, I call for the question.
See, I know this. This is.
That motion failed for lack of a second. Please vote. Ten yeas, 3 nays, 1 abstention. Do we need a break before we go to the 3-minute comments?
Nah, let's roll.
Oh,
go, let's
staff can leave. Let's go ahead and start. First on the list, Mr. Brant Osborne.
Sincerely, board members, thank you so much for giving hope and enabling Frank Jabby and I to finish this mission that we were put on the path back in December by unanimous vote by this board. I think a great deal of it, the trouble of this process is what Ms. Lamey's talking about. There's bad blood on both sides going back to the previous board. Y'all have to realize, I've seen things that a lot of you have not seen. And as Ms. Baker said, it's not a game, but sometimes what happens in this room is a sport. But you have to know the laws and the rules of that sport. There was a particular meeting when the bus MOU was voted on. It started out in executive session. We were not allowed into the room. We were left in the atrium. A vote was held, because a vote must be held before going into executive session, but no one could come speak for public comment because we were locked out. A supervisor told Ms. Barrios and myself, they asked me not to let you in, please don't get me in trouble. So they knew they were breaking the law, okay? That's open meetings law. And it was later revealed in a meeting that the reason that was done, because they didn't want the bus drivers bargaining in public, meaning before this was voted on, they didn't want bus drivers to have a say. Okay, so what happened Monday, in my view, and we are analyzing it, was a travesty of open meetings law and parliamentary procedure. I'm very glad Mr. Paul is back. You talk about backdoor deals, the whole start of that meeting looks to me like a backdoor deal. We were out here cooling our heels for an hour and 30 minutes, and some of y'all weren't here, so I'm going to read this again. Frank Jabby and I signed these rules of engagement, approval and ratification, consistent with an advertised agenda The superintendent or his designee will present each aspect of the completed agreement in its entirety to the board before they vote so that clarification can be sought and questions asked in an open meeting. The Federation president or designee may be recognized by the board president as needed during this portion of the presentation. Note, this provision in no way should be viewed as eliminating the board's right to go into executive session, but the proposed agreement shall still be read and discussed in its entirety outside of executive session. So imagine if that had been allowed to happen. Instead, I mean, I've never seen what happened where you had an advertised agenda item be substituted by something completely different. And even Mr. Jabby admitted he's not entirely sure what a handbook is, so I'm not either. I came prepared to talk about this with Frank, yet there was no presentation. So you talk about a gut punch. I mean, it was tough. So I'm not gonna, I understand the emotions, but please, what happens in this chamber, if that presentation could have happened, and if we could just table it so that Frank and I continue to work, imagine the thousands of
Could you
people's
please
lives
wrap it up,
who wouldn't have
Mr.
been
Osborne?
disrupted. So I just ask you to consider that. So yes, the process does need to be completed, but that includes what goes on in these chambers. Thank you.
Karen Richards. Okay, she waves. Barbara Sharp.
Barbara Sharp, bus driver. Again, thanks for the positive move here. You do have something that gives us what we need. It is the CBA. It is the tool that needs to be corrected, yes, in the appropriate areas. Time is running out. Move forward and give the staff and all the children a good start for this school year. We trust now that you will move forward, get the kinks out, and we look forward to the ratification of a new CBA before the start of the school year. Thank you.
Stephanie Underwood.
Stephanie Underwood, Executive Vice President of the Federation. I wanted to clarify something real quick about the 90-minute duty issue. So the proposed CBA has to be advertised for 5 days. If the language was changed, it would have had to been reposted for 5 extra days. The meeting would have changed. So in writing, there was an agreement to do an MOU immediately after it was voted and ratified, and revisited in February to see what the maximum should be. So that was where that confusion was. And if you go back and listen, you'll hear that's exactly what was said. So the agreement was to immediately do an MOU and revisit in February to see what the maximum should be. If it should be 90, should be 120, whatever that should be. And we got the 90 from Tangi. That's what they do. And so that was a big confusion. But I do want to say I'm very happy about the vote tonight. Monday's vote was an emotional roller coaster, to say the very least. There was a lot of sleep lost. I will be honest, and I am a sleeper. So for me to not be able to go to sleep, that is bad. I'm just saying, I love sleep. If I could sleep all day, it would be great. But I immediately was like, tomorrow we provide lunch for the new teacher induction. And I mean, if they don't want to work with us, then why work with them? So I kind of said something to Brant, and he was like, no. And then a little bit later, he was like, throw those sandwiches away. So because we got Jimmy John's, that's why the sandwiches. All right. So anyway, we agreed. This is not anybody else's fault. We're not taking out. We were there bright and early. Saw Superintendent Jabia, saw everybody. Sandwiches were there. We knew that the people that we were providing services to did not have any impact on what happened that Monday night. And we did not take it out on them. But I will tell you, there were some emotions, and we really, for a second there, I wanted to get back. But I do appreciate y'all listening to everyone, because we are representatives. I know you see us most of the time, and it's easy to say this is what Brant and this is what Stephanie wants. but we listen to everybody, members and non-members. I had a running document that's over 3 years old of issues that members and non-members have brought up throughout the time that we have been in office. And those are the things that we bring to the table. Member and non-member alike. Just because only members get to vote for the final product because their dues that they pay provide us with opportunity to be able to operate and do this stuff for them, that's why they get a little extra step and get to vote on the actual bargaining agreement, but we listen to all. So thank you.
Ben?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I want to thank the board for making the right choice. I know it's not over with. Real quick, I just want to say that I noticed that there's a lot of calls for, or the implication is that there's a lot of emotion on this side of the table, but I sense a lot of emotion on this side too. And please forgive me, but I find it rich that you guys are going to lecture all these folks, and these folks only get 2 minutes to talk. Number one. Number two, I've been a union rep for 20 years and I've been business manager for 14. And I represent 10 different states. That's 10 different collective bargaining agreements. I've negotiated about 20 bargaining agreements in the last 14 years. And what's going on here, to me, is straight up union busting. And I'm telling you this as a constituent, as a taxpayer, and this is a waste of time. And I would rather have my tax money spent on trying to get these folks more money. Okay, because my stats might be off because I heard the millage stats earlier saying that we're not the highest tax parish in the state, but we're somewhere up there in the top 5. But I think teacher pay is like in the teens. I think I read a stat that it was 17th in the state. That's shameful. Number one. Number two, I like my teachers like I like my airline pilots, unionized. Okay, when you fly, you want to know that you got a qualified individual in the cockpit. And I want the same thing for our teachers and our school staff. So respect the union. They've made this choice. The union's been around for 30 years. At some point in time, these folks got together, their predecessors, and they voted collectively to unionize, okay? Now, there's some people that are not union members. That's fine. They have the right not to be union members. But if at some point in time the majority of employees don't want to be union anymore, there's a decertification process for that. Okay, they can vote to decertify the union and get rid of it. But as far as I know, it's a pretty good majority that wants to be in the union. And I get that there's folks that might not be in the union and maybe they have the anti-union sentiments or maybe the union did them wrong at some point in time. I guarantee you, I've been living here for 20 years and we interact with a lot of people, both teachers and friends. And these are Republicans, these are Democrats, these are independents, it doesn't matter. Here in St. Tammany, it's not a politics thing. These folks want to be unionized, and guess what? They want a seat at the table. And if you don't have the seat at the table, then all you get is the table scraps. So they want a seat at the table and they want a CBA. Give them a CBA. As a taxpayer, that's what I expect you to do. And if you don't, well, then you're going to be voted out. Thank you.
Ann Broussard. Ann Broussard. Not here. Lee Barrios.
Lee Barrios, retired teacher. Mr. Green said that he doesn't mind rolling up property taxes to provide more money for things like teacher raises, and that at least we have local control over our taxes. I believe those were your words or the essence. But unfortunately, that's not accurate. Our new governor has removed the opportunity for local public agencies like the school board to accept or reject ITEPs, which are district industrial tax exemptions. Even more unfortunate has been the removal of transparency and public input in the decision of public agencies like our school board to advertise requests for ITEPs in our parish, require a rep of the business to come before the board to make their case, invite public input, and to give the board the opportunity to accept or reject the proposal. A new process has evidently been commandeered by the St. Tammany Economic Development Corporation. We will once again face the possibility of losing hundreds of thousands of dollars each year to tax exemptions for big business. In the past, it's been about $1 million a year. These are tax dollars that the public have voted to approve specifically for the support of our public schools. I've asked this board recently to place this subject on an agenda so that the new process can be explained and Mrs. Prevost can give you an updated report on ITEPs that have been approved in the past and how those have affected our bottom line. I've also forwarded to Mr. Breaux and Ms. Martin as much information as I have been able to gather on this new process, and Mrs. Provost is well versed on the process. Please put this on an agenda in the near future. Our tax-paying citizens, not to mention our employees and the board, just need to know, especially when we are hoping they will support another bond issue. Thank you.
Mr. Broom.
Thank you, Mr. Breaux. My name is Robert Broom from Slidell, and I would just like to let the public and the board, of course, know that the St. Tammany Parish Audit Committee will be meeting July 31st, starting at 4:30 here in the atrium. And of course, the public and board members and everyone else is invited to come. It's going to be an informative meeting. We'll be hearing hearing about the upcoming schedules for audits and hearing progress that have been made so far. So I'd like to let everybody know that the meeting is, again, July 31st, starts at 4:30, and everyone is welcome, and we're looking forward to a productive meeting. Thank you.
There are no other 3 minutes, so announcements of the board president. We will be, many of the board will be attending the Southern Regional School Board Conference in Biloxi starting Sunday. Following that, there's the Administrators Conference lunch that we're invited to on July 26th. Do you have when our first meeting is? August 1st. So be prepared. August 1st is rolling around pretty quick. So that is when we will have our first CAW meeting.
And Brooks.
At Brooks in Slidell. August 1st, followed by August 8th will be the next regular scheduled meeting. And that concludes the meeting. We are adjourned.